Greetings and welcome to Nathan Isle Official. If you've never seen my face in a video before, my name is Nathan Isle and this is my personal channel where I do vlogs, reviews, and anything else that happens to catch my fancy. And today, what caught my fancy is the Disney and Pixar movies Inside Out 1 and 2.
Bo cheesy?
I don't understand. What's happening?
Ugh, this is just embarrassing. I can't.
If you just want my quick opinion on this, then it's not the best movie ever made, but it's worth sitting through. Feel free to go watch it. I think you'd enjoy it. Now, for those who have never seen the movie Inside Out, is basically it's a movie about, hey, they gave personalities to the emotions in a little girl's head, and we get to watch how those emotions are reacting to the outside world. If I'm being completely honest, the biggest problem I have with these movies is that you have emotions going on an emotional journey, which brings up the question, do the emotions have emotion? And those emotions have emotions, and it sends us down a wormhole that never ends. But outside of that, the biggest complaints I've heard about these movies, one of them is a complaint I had myself, which is that, hey, there are more than 5 emotions. Also, the fact that not everyone is entirely controlled by their emotions. Some of us are actually capable of rational thought outside of our feelings. But fuck us, right? But if we're being completely honest here, the learning more about the behind-the-scenes stuff and whatnot, it all makes a lot more sense. There were time constraints, not to mention they have to make this easily digestible to the widest audience possible. So, we can give them a pass for that indiscretion. Then a lot of people are up in arms about the fact that in the second movie, they're introducing new emotions, and they're like, oh, so they're just casually throwing new emotions, even though they already established that everyone on Earth all has the exact same emotions. And I realize, honestly, we're all kind of sounding like haters with that shit, okay? I think to some degree, we all just need to accept the fact that this is a fucking kids movie. There's only so much they can do, and there's only so many ways they can do it. It doesn't have to be hyper-realistic. In fact, if it was legitimately realistic, it probably would not be enjoyable.
Won't somebody please think of the children?
The biggest complaint that I have about this movie personally is that you could argue that it's basically the same movie twice, because the overarching concept of both of these movies is essentially just the same moral lesson that emotions are neither good nor bad. They are valuable tools that can harm or hurt us depending on how we respond, but focusing too much on any one emotion, even the positive ones, it can have deadly effects. And we are not any one thing that we feel. We are a combination of all of our feelings and all of our memories. We are very complex creatures, which is why I do highly recommend this movie, because while yes, there are times when it doesn't go deep enough, I think it is a great introduction to mental health, especially since, technically it is a movie for children. It's a good exploration of, hey, these are feelings. We all have them, but we get to choose how we live our lives. Our feelings don't get to dictate who we are as people. And I really do love the portrayals of a mental health struggle, because you have a girl who's going through a rough time, and she reaches a moment in time when she is physically incapable of feeling any joy. I felt that so strongly. And then a lot of people have said that in the second movie, especially, the portrayal of an anxiety attack, they really did some very good things. In my opinion, could it have been better? Technically, yes, but honestly, if we're being realistic, not really. There are very few things they could have done better to, like I said, fit within the constraints that they're forced to deal with. That being said, I want to open this up. Let's have a brief conversation. I don't know how brief it's gonna be. I tend to over-explain at times. I'm gonna try to keep it as short as possible. Let's talk about what's going on up here.
And there seems to be no sign of intelligent life anywhere.
My core emotion is hope. And hope can be so distressing, because the people with the most hope are the ones capable of the deepest sadness. Why do I say that? Because the dictionary definition of despair is quite literally the loss of hope. So without hope, there is no despair. So, the people with the most hope are capable of such low depths, if the world is constantly shitting on them again and again. Which for some people, it really do be feeling like that sometimes. So yeah, my main emotion is bipolar as fuck. And there are times when I wish I wasn't so hopeful, because sometimes just getting your hopes up, it only leads to more disappointment. But there are also times when I'm grateful, because sometimes just that little nagging, annoying voice in my head telling me constantly that, hey, tomorrow might be better. There's a possibility that 10 years from now, it might actually feel like all this bullshit was worth it someday. There are times when that little nagging, annoying voice who will never shut the fuck up actually proves to be useful.
Pushing them on with false hope. It's hope that's gotten us this far.
Another emotion you probably already recognize, anger. I feel a lot of anger. Anger is very strong with me. But another one that you probably don't recognize is pain. Pain is the love child of fear and sadness. Pain remembers everyone who's ever hurt you, everyone who's ever laid hands on you, everyone who's ever said a single thing about you. And it puts up walls. Pain is what puts up borders so that people cannot get too close, because if they can't get close, then they can't hurt you again. And the final emotions in my head, one of them, curiosity. A lot of people would say curiosity is an emotion. It counts in this case, because it is one of the driving forces in my life, the innate need to know. And one of the painful realizations I had to come to terms with very early in life, and continue having to come to terms with every single fucking day, is that there are too many things that you do not know, that you cannot know, that you will never know. It's frustrating. I mean, I'm the kind of person who would love to know everything about everything, but there are too many unknowns in life that you will just never have the answers for. Or at the very least, you're not going to know them when you need to know them. Hindsight is clearly 20/20. Anyone can look back on the shit they did as a teenager and realize, well, I was an idiot. Not really. You did the best you could with the information you had. You didn't have enough of the right information, unfortunately. Last but not least, we have imagination. And imagination is totally an emotion, at least in the context, in the terms of this universe, because it is a driving force for me. Because I've always had an overactive imagination. It does not stop. I was the kid who was never bored, because have you seen Calvin and Hobbes? I was a lot like that as a kid, playing with my stuffed animals, my action figures, and just literally being in another world. And like, imagination has fueled my growth and development as an adult. I mean, I've literally trying to build a career out of imagination. I've got a novel, 2 short stories, a comic book series. I've written hundreds of stories, thousands of songs, all because of my overactive imagination. There are so many times where even if I didn't have PTSD, disassociation would still be a huge part of my everyday life, because I will be looking at someone, having an entire conversation with them, but I'm more focused on a story that I'm writing, whether it's this fantasy novel about knights and dragons, or this Mighty Ducks fan fiction that I'm doing. There's always something that's going on back there. It's always on. Always. I've had the weirdest fucking dreams. I can't even tell you. So yeah, those are my core emotions. Let me know yours down below. I mean, overall, once again, to recap what I've said about this movie, I mean, if I'm going as far as entertainment value, I'd give it like a 6 out of 10, maybe 7. As far as educational value, I'd say 8, maybe 9. Let's split the difference, call it 8.5. I do wish it had gone deeper, but I also understand why they couldn't. And 100%, if there's a third movie, would entirely plan to watch it again. Don't know if I'm ever going to watch either of these 2 movies again. I feel like I got what I needed out of them. I have no desire at the moment to ever sit through them again. I'd rather watch Jurassic Park. But I think they're worth sitting through at least once in your life. It's a good message to tell and a great conversation starter. Hell, it forced me to have a conversation with myself, because there are a lot of things I've been avoiding. And I literally just sat down in the mirror and I talked to myself for 5 minutes. It's not crazy. In fact, it's the same thing I've ever done in my life. But yeah, that's all for this video. And until the next time you see my face, hope you have a great day, week, month, year, however long it ends up being. Talk to yourself. Just look in the mirror, have a conversation with yourself, It might sound crazy, but if you're going through some shit, hey, like this might be a good way to work some of that out. Take care of yourself.
You smoked all of it, didn't you?